Yeah. No, appreciate you guys taking the time. Obviously, you know, the result that came Saturday afternoon, you know, I take full responsibility for it, obviously. I did not do a good job getting our guys ready for that game, and they played their tails off. They played hard, but obviously didn't do a good enough job from a big picture standpoint, put them in the best possible situation to be successful, and it showed up on a big stage. So I feel bad about it. My heart hurts, but I also am excited to get it fixed. We got a great group of guys that we coach every day that came in yesterday to the building that were excited to get back to work, that obviously frustrated about how Saturday afternoon went, because we know we're way better than we showed Saturday afternoon. And once again, I take full responsibility. I need to do a better job. We got a really good group of guys that love football, love each other, and we got to be better. And it starts with me.
Like Patrick said, you know, another tough test ahead of you. You know, how hungry are the guys to kind of right the ship after last week?
Yeah, no doubt. I will tell you this group of guys will be hungry regardless what happened last week. Obviously, that's even extra fuel in the fire. And more than anything, obviously you get punched in the mouth the way we did on Saturday. It does motivate you, but more than anything, we know we're way better than that. We're way better than that when how we communicate, how we play with great eye control, how we're on the same page. Like, all of those things are how we played was uncharacteristic of us. Obviously, it goes through the preparation, which is on me. So our guys are very excited just to get back on the field with each other, to play together as a team, to play together as a unit, to do the little things that it needs to play good defense. Communication and eye control in the pre-snap, getting to the football, tackling, creating takeaways. Like, all those things relate to playing good defense. And obviously, we need to take a big step this weekend.
Several possessions, obviously, for Washington, felt like everything they did get, they were struggling to, and I don't know if they just popped or if they found something, because then it got into the point where it felt like they were doing exactly what they did best, which is driving the ball downfield. What, from your perspective, did they find something in what you were doing?
At the end of the day, they had to have, right? I mean, at the end of the day, too, I didn't do a good enough job switching up pictures for them. And there's a lot of things from my standpoint that I need to be better next time. But I'm proud of the way our guys started the game. I'm proud of the way that they, you know, started the game on the 50-yard line and responded to a 3-and-out. Like, those are the things we talk about a lot defensively, where you respond, right? We can't punt. We can't have any, oh, you're right, coach, I'll get it fixed next play. Like, you have to be on that razor's edge. And I'm proud of how they started the game. And then, obviously, as the game went on, especially into the second quarter, I got to do a better job switching up the windows and pictures, because it was just too easy of a picture for the quarterback, too easy of a picture from the pressures we were bringing for them to pick them up. We didn't get enough pressure to Penix. And then in coverage, we had some errors that came up that we can be way better at. Once again, I take full responsibility. I don't say that in a way of that's just because I'm the DC. I really do. And my heart hurts for the group of guys I coach, because I know how much they worked for that moment, from not just game week. It was summertime. It was spring ball, the training they did. And I know we're way better than we showed, and we're going to work our tail off to have that product on the field.
I think it's easy sometimes to see a wide open touchdown and just, you know, blame whoever is the closest to it, when probably there was so much more going on.
Absolutely.
But, like, how do you look at the safety? I mean, some of those plays, I mean, the guys were open by 10, 15 yards. Is that miscommunication? Is that just, you know, the safety or the cornerback getting beat? What do you attribute a lot of those to?
Yeah, obviously, and once again, first and foremost, it's my fault, because we didn't do a good enough job from a rep standpoint to the call in that situation, to making sure everybody knew who they were supposed to be on. So, because once again, we have a great group of guys we coach. There's not a guy that I see every day that is not excited to get better and grow. I mean, they're up there right now watching UCF film, getting ready. So that's the kind of group we coach. So obviously, first off, starts with me in regards to how we're prepping them for these moments and the different looks we're seeing. And then secondly, defense always starts with communication, eye control, making sure, okay, what are we going to play to these sets? As they release vertical, who's grabbing what number and all those things. And once again, it comes from practice, comes from us as coaches doing a good job to make sure it's clear for these guys, because they want to. They have a want to. And I got to do a better job changing the picture in that game, because it was too easy for them. We needed to make it harder on them in a lot of those situations, and I did not do a good enough job.
Can you explain the eye control piece and you know, and maybe an example of what that means?
Yeah,
looks like?
So when I say communication, eye control, defensive calls are called in different than, obviously, offensive calls that tell you the exact formation, tell you the exact route, tell you exactly what's happening. Defensive calls are signaled in with built-in adjustments to the different formations we're playing depending on the call. So as a defensive unit, from the safeties to the linebackers to depending what we're seeing, there's communication that needs to be built in. Us as coaches then teach that throughout the week that, hey, if we get this set, we want you guys to communicate blank. If we get this set, we need to communicate blank. More situational based, and that needs to be clear for our guys so they know without question, okay, these are the tools in my toolbox that I can use to communicate. Because at the end of the day, as long as we're all on the same page, we're going to be just fine. If all 11 are playing the same thing, we're going to be, we talk about all the time, if we're all wrong, we're all right. And that comes from, for me as the defensive coordinator, making sure that's clear what we need to be playing in those situations so we don't give up the explosive plays we did.
The way the secondary responded last year after getting torched in the opener against Oregon State, you know, what lessons can you take from that, and how can you point to that and say, hey, this is how we turn the ship around?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of different things from the past that we've learned. Obviously, you don't like to go through a 56-point game to have to learn the lessons, but we are. And from last year, losing game one and having to get some things fixed going into week two, we're doing the same thing right now. And we have a group that's very hungry. We have a group that does not feel defeated. We have not lost our confidence. Obviously, we see the issues. We see the deficiencies from if it's scheme to techniques to eye control. We've seen those, and those are being corrected as we speak. But I know it's a group of guys that are very excited to go play again with each other on Saturday. And once again, they're motivated to just play together, making sure we're all doing our 111th. It's not trying to make a play because I love this team. I want to. No, we need you to do your job in this snap. And once again, coming from me to these players, that needs to be clear what that is, and that's going to be the biggest deal. If I'm supposed to be in this gap, you got to be in that gap. I know you want to make a play, and I love you for it, but you got to do your job. If you're supposed to be in the post, you got to be in the post. So those are some things. Once again, starting with me, it's just got to be clear for our guys because they care. They want to get it fixed. They want to be an elite defense. That's the standard here. Obviously, that was not even close to how we played on Saturday, and we're excited to get it fixed, just like we worked to get it fixed last season.
A lot of fans will say, okay, well, is Washington just really, really good, or has the secondary really got some problems? It's probably somewhere in the middle. How hard is it to gauge, I guess, some of the issues or things when you're playing against a passing attack that's that good?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Washington's very talented. They've got a great crew of not only the offensive line protecting the quarterbacks, receivers, but we're way better than we played. And that's what we talked to our defense about, and just showing them plays where we know we're better, right? From a communication standpoint to even a scheme, from a call, we're better than we played. And so looking at it, does that mean that if we get all these things, games never work like that. You're never going to go into a game and leave. Everything's perfect, guys. Great job. We'll see you guys on Monday. There's always going to be stuff to clean up, but we got to do a better job eliminating all these explosive plays because that's what hurt us on Saturdays. Obviously, the amount of explosive plays they had. In the first quarter, we were able to limit them, and then obviously in the second and third quarter, it opened up on us. And so that's where I believe Washington's a really good offense, but we're way better than we played.
What about in the red zone, too? I mean, I know even in some of the scrimmages, we heard that you guys gave up some yards, but in the red zone, they were locked down. I think they were 5 for 5 on touchdowns.
Yeah, that's not our standard at 100%, BJ, and that's something that for us, especially against an offense like that, you're going to give up some plays. I mean, they do a great job, but our mentality in the red zone is 3 or nothing. No matter what or how they got down there, we have to have mechanisms to where we are not going to break down there. We're going to hold you to field goals, or it's going to be 0. We're going to go block the field goal, or we're going to create a takeaway, and it didn't happen on Saturday. And so, once again, starting with me from a game plan standpoint, did we have enough answers? Did we put our guys in good enough spots to be able to defend what we were seeing? And so we're looking at it holistically right now, from the top down to are we putting our guys in the best situation to be able to defend in the red zone? Because you have to. You have to play good red zone defense all the time, especially when you're playing an offense like Washington.
On Saturday, you guys only blitzed a handful of times, and it's so hard against a quarterback like Penix. He seemed to find an open receiver. What do you see with UCF? I mean, Plumlee kind of seems like the same way, and he's got the legs too. Mm-hmm. Is this going to be a game where it's tough to blitz just because of the weapons they have and how smart their quarterback is? Yeah,
obviously, even on Saturday, we got to do a better job picking and choosing when we use our pressures. We have to create more pressure on the quarterback. A huge part of what we do defensively is pressure and confuse the quarterback, which is not just the front. These explosive plays are not just the safeties or the corner that everybody on TV sees that's not there, right? It's holistic. It's, once again, starting with me from the play call to put him in good spots. but it directly correlates. Are we getting enough pressure till the ball comes out quick? Is the quarterback holding it too long, right? There's a lot of intricacies on defense. Just because on TV it looks like, oh, this one player was wrong, that's not always the case. And so it's definitely not one position group, it's not one player. But especially going into playing UCF, they do, playing them from 21, they do a phenomenal job offensively. First off, the tempo is a real deal. They want to go as fast as possibly can. They get a first down, the sticks aren't even close to being set by the time they're rolling. So that's something they're going to be on the attack with. And their quarterback, number 10, Plumlee, one of the fastest guys at quarterback we've seen in a long time. And his arm strength is big time. He can make all the throws. And if it's not there and he takes off, that's very scary too. So we've got to find mechanisms to make sure, obviously, we create pressure, create confusion, but we got to make sure we keep number 10 in the pocket.
How impressive is he as an athlete? Not only his ability to be a dual threat, but during the spring game, he was playing in a baseball game, and then he's jumping on a cart to ride across to play in the spring football
No
game.
doubt.
So how impressive is he as an athlete?
You just, to your point, Jay, when you can play two sports at the level he does, that speaks to who he is as an athlete and who he is as from a mental standpoint, being able to not only play quarterback and lead offense, but play another sport. I think the world of him as an athlete, especially seeing him over the years grow, seeing him from last season to now. He's always been able to take off and run, but he can make all the throws. He can throw the ball a mile. He's put in space. He can roll to his throwing arm to the right. He can also make the same accurate throws rolling to his left, which is very impressive. And he can put it on a dime. And he's got a receiving core that can stretch the field in numbers 1, 2, and 3. They can all stretch the field, and he does a great job getting the rock. And once again, he does a really good job. If everything's covered, he's not, and he's out. And it creates matchup issues.
Washington was playing, you didn't get to see much from the run defense. Obviously, a much more balanced offense you're facing this week. From the limited opportunities, what do you see from the defensive line?
Yeah, excuse me. I was proud of how our D-line played the run. I really was. Especially being younger at a lot of those spots. Our coaching staff did a really good job getting them ready to play the game. I think they played physical, they played tough, they did their job, and that was cool to see. Once again, not a lot of looks at the run in regards to the offense we were seeing, but the reps we did get, I was proud of how they played. Obviously, still things are growing from a run game standpoint, but I was proud of how they stepped up, especially a young group that doesn't have a lot of game reps underneath their belt. Obviously, it's going to pick up in a major way this week with a very balanced attack, and they'll give you almost every run scheme imaginable, and then obviously we got to transition to the pass rush as well.
How much does this defense need to feed off of a loud crowd and a home crowd for you guys?
Without question. Yeah, that's the exciting part. We're excited to come home. A huge part. Obviously, we want to win every game we play in. And I've already spoke about the disappointment in regards to this past weekend. But when we play in the blue, we talk, it's a huge deal. It's not just something we put out, but defending the blue, defending home for these fans, for these people, it is an absolute huge part of what we do. And so everybody that comes, being loud, creating chaos, that is a strategic advantage for us, especially defensively. We've seen it. We've seen guys come in and get rattled. We've seen guys come in and the cadence and the motions aren't the way they should because they can't hear. And it's a huge strategic advantage for us, and we're going to need every single bit of it this Saturday.
Is that more what BJ's talking about with the crowd? You said they like to run as many plays as they can. Mm-hmm. How does a loud stadium prevent Gus from being able to do that?
I think obviously, Gus Malzahn's played in a lot of really loud stadiums, so they've got a lot of different mechanisms that they're going to use. They're not going to be shocked by coming to a sold-out loud stadium. But just in general, there's still 11 people on the field too. There's still 11 human beings on the field that they got to be able to operate. And whatever their mechanisms are in regards to a loud stadium, it's going to make it harder on them than if it was quiet. That's just the reality of it. And so we're going to need every bit of that. They're going to have different mechanisms to use. They're still going to go fast. They're still going to have all those ways because they've played in a lot of different big stadiums that are loud. But I do know it's a strategic advantage for us.
Seem to, kind of like Washington, lots of pre-snap motion, eye candy, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But they've got, like Boise State, they've got two great running backs and a quarterback that can move. What's kind of the plan of attack against a three-headed monster like that?
Yeah, first off, it's handling the tempo. They want to be on the attack, and we talk about it all the time. Instead of letting the tempo dictate what we do, we want to attack the tempo. and that's a big thing, obviously, from working it through the summertime to prepping this week for it. Our guys will be ready for those moments. We've seen tempo teams in the past, and I think Gus Malzahn and his crew do an outstanding job from a tempo standpoint, but that's going to handle the tempo first and foremost. Then it's just we've got to go back to our emphasis, and for us, it's with all the eye candy, with the tempo. Tempo is designed to have you play with a lack of eye control and a lack of fundamentals and techniques, right? So you're misaligned because you don't see the formation the right way. You don't see your keys because it's going fast, right? All these things are to create a lack of the fundamentals and techniques that breed elite defense, and so that's what we're harping on this week to make sure that we attack that by being lined up before they do, and we're going to play with great eye control. We're going to play with great fundamentals and technique from the front end to the back end, and then we're going to have different answers in regards to what they do offensively.
We saw Amari McCoy out there some, obviously Jaden Virgin, some of these guys that hadn't played a lot or at all. I mean, what were your thoughts on some of the guys that were getting their feet wet out there?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, BJ, at the end of the day, when these guys that have kind of paid their dues or new guys to the program get out there and cut their teeth, game reps are phenomenal, right? That you learn so much good and bad through the game reps you get because you're ready for the moment more the next time, right? You learn so much through those moments. So the more we can get this group of guys to stack those game reps up, it's going to be huge. And especially with a group on defense that's playing with some guys that are younger, guys that haven't played as much, it's huge that as this season goes, okay, how can we grow from week 1 to week 2? Obviously as a whole defense, but even these individual spots where now these guys are no longer the ones that haven't played a lot. As the season goes, they're going to be guys that then get a good amount of reps underneath their belt. And so it's cool to see them respond, get these reps, maybe see where we want them to grow, see where we can play these certain situations better, and they will.
The task wasn't easy for him, but how do you think Rodney played against Washington?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, holistically, like, especially when you give up the yards we give up, it's easy to look at and see. I shouldn't say it's easy, but everyone's going to see, okay, was it the corner, was it the safety? And it's holistic. It's holistic. And so there's from Rodney to the rest of our safeties to our corners to our linebackers to our D-line to our edge guys. There's so much to clean up that we are better than we showed. Rodney cares about this team. He loves this team. He wants to be elite, and he wants this defense to be elite. And now he did not play to the level that we all know he's capable of, and he's going to do a great job this week prepping himself to be ready to play this game, and I know he will.
Anything else?
No turnovers either. I mean, just
huge part. I mean, we have to create takeaways. We get the one on the ground. We've got 4 guys around it, and we kick it back to them. Can't happen. Can't happen. Once again, got to do a better job emphasizing practice from drills to all the different situations because we have to create takeaways. I don't care what offense you're playing, but especially the one we saw Saturday and the one we're going to see this weekend, we got to take the ball. Have to.
We didn't hear the names Dimitri Washington or Ahmed Hassanin, and they were kind of touted a ton, but they were going up against probably 2 of the better tacklers they're going to go up against this season. Do they kind of have the hunger heading into week 2 of like, okay, time to get back on track and do what we know we can? Yeah.
Once again, I would say everybody in Seattle on Saturday afternoon feels that way, right? Not just those 2, because once again, they played tough, they played physical. There's some things from a pass rush standpoint that I know they're excited to grow in, but it's me putting them in good spots. It's me finding a better pressure plan to where we can create confusion and give this front time to get home and get production. But just like them and just like everybody else on defense, starting with me, I know we're very excited to grow from what we showed on Saturday because we're better than that. And once again, start with me.
All right. Thank you all.
Appreciate it, guys.